take that 4 cents for the next 2 years, or 2 cents for 4 years, that would generate about 500,000, and to possibly close the budget gap that way. And he felt that that would be something that we'd need to pass a resolution to put a voter referendum on the ballot. And he said, let the voters decide, let the residents decide if that's how they would prefer the budget gap to be closed versus, I'm not sure what other ways we have of closing that gap short of cutting services to the community. So, so that's a proposal, and he asked me to put that in front of the committee, and that's what I'm doing. So, Brent, I'm not sure if this is something. How would how we would go about it? Would this be something that we would have to put on the June ballot?
Well,
absolutely not.
No, it wouldn't be on the
Agenda. First of all, we have to discuss whether or not we're supporting this.
Well, I understand. I'm asking Brent a procedural question.
It goes on the November ballot, and I'm sorry that you don't know that.
well, I can take a look at that.
Okay. I appreciate
I can say, because I do this, I'm the election administrator for the town. Township needs to pass a resolution. It is due to the county in August to have the question placed on the ballot for a non-binding referendum to be placed on the November ballot.
So you're saying we've already missed the deadline?
No.
Oh, okay.
The resolution would need to be to the county by August for a non-binding referendum question.
Okay. So, Brent, you
Well, then I won't look into it.
You just did.
So, I mean, I'm presenting this to the committee as a proposal that's come forward by one of our residents, a very intelligent resident. I mean, he's an accountant, and he was thinking outside the box, and I'm just putting it out there for the committee for discussion. I think it's something that should be discussed.
Well, I have a question. I know he proposed this last year.
He did. I don't remember.
Yes, he did. Why didn't you think of it?
I don't remember him proposing it.
He did. Why didn't you do it when you were the mayor?
Elaine, I don't remember him proposing it.
You did.
If you can recall,
I have it in email.
Well, then I would. Well, that's fine. I don't remember.
He did.
I don't understand what the issue is by.
The issue is that you're bringing this up now. You're talking about open space funds that we have worked for the last 15 years on dedicating to open space monies. Open space is the critical component to this master plan. The master plan and all the things that we have worked for as a township over the last 15 years are built on open space.
Elaine.
We have a master plan that residents have put together to make sure that none of these funds are used towards anything else but open space. Considering the use of using these monies towards anything else other than open space to close a budget gap that has been created by non-fiscal conservative spending, and no one has said that we are cutting services. Who has indicated that we are cutting services?
Elaine, can I
just answer that question? Who said we are cutting services?
I don't think anybody said we're cutting services.
Okay.
Well, let me just say something. I'd like to say something.
There's an
A resident.
It's one person at a time.
Okay. A resident came forward and sent an email to every member on this committee.
Exactly.
Okay? I am bringing that proposal forward. I'm not saying I'm supportive or not. I'm bringing that proposal forward because a resident made that suggestion. I don't recall.
So let's discuss it. So you're discussing, you're making an assumption that we're all going to go along with it.
I'm not making any assumption. I am presenting a proposal that a resident made, okay? I don't recall that he made it last year. If he did, I'm sorry that I don't remember. I don't know, I don't remember the conversation, so if I don't recall the conversation, I don't know why we wouldn't have discussed it further. But the bottom line is, we have a resident that is putting forth this proposal. He didn't send it to me personally, he sent it to all 5 of us, okay?
As he did last year. or the year before, I can't remember which.
Okay.
Well,
But she does refer, what I took from the reference was, I did send him a reply saying, thank you very much for thinking out of the box on behalf of the, you know,
Right.
as a taxpayer, thinking out of the box for us or helping us.
Right. He's asking. I'm
But there
sorry.
was an implication, and he used the word, since there's a potential loss of services, which I looked at it and said,
he did.
I don't understand where you're getting the loss of services. So far, we have not lost any services to this town at this point, and we don't project to. So, but he did clarify, he said, I didn't mean that, and he did clarify himself that I didn't assume that, you know, it's just the way it was worded, I just took it that way, and I don't know how anybody else on the board include, you know, I don't know.
Yeah,
took
I
it.
can't speak for him, but I think
It's definitely a viable option to look at.
I think he
I
probably was
don't recall
thinking-
last year seeing it at, I don't know. She said she-
Well, no, he did use the word loss of service. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight, but, you know, it's a suggestion that I could see, and I'm just gonna share philosophically where I come from. And I don't know, you haven't, no one has really shared, you know, where they are on it. And I think that at a first blush, when you look at it, you think, okay, and I too responded to him and said, thank you, simply because at least he took the time in response to knowing the financial situation that we're in, to at least offer a suggestion, which is, you know, it's right. It's
I've
at
never
least,
seen
it's
that
at least
before,
nice
so
somebody
yeah,
to
absolutely.
offer a suggestion. Philosophically, the problem that I have with the proposal is that under the law, you can't take those monies and designate them for anything other than open space. So really what the proposal is to repeal and then impose a new tax. So what your proposal is I want to tax and spend. And I'm not for taxing and I'm not for spending. And there's no other way. You can't label it any other way. The proposal is a tax and spend. It's not simply that, well, we have money here and we want to allocate it over here. That is just fundamentally, you can't look at it that way because the money is specifically allocated towards open space. But it's my understanding, and I see folks in the room who would know for certain, and I'm referencing, I see Tom and Barry and Dawn Marie, and if I misspeak, someone will correct me. But it's my understanding that this issue was put to the voters on more than one occasion in the past, and that this township has spoken. If it was a text message, I might characterize it as an all capital. Or it would be an exclamation point, that Greenwich is committed to open space. And that this proposal, in my view, the fact that the budget has been mismanaged, and then to have that have a pernicious effect on our vigorous open space program would, in my opinion, be adding insult to injury in terms of the financial situation we're in. And I think that would be an unfortunate casualty to Greenwich. Also, there are some philosophically who say you need ratables and you got to build. And I think that becomes you're chasing windmills at that point, and you get into that ratable chase. And when you build, you need services with it. Cornfields don't need police. Cornfields don't need DPW to plow the roads. Cornfields don't need desks, chalk, and teachers and infrastructure. And the best way to maintain property taxes is to limit growth. Because when you're developing, that necessarily means increase in taxes, increase in costs, and we wind up further behind the 8 ball. And I think that's why I said at first blush, I think it becomes a reaction to a problem, but it's a short-term strategy. And I think that it really denies a longer-term vision that we've been working diligently towards. And I don't know how many people here have read the master plan that we have from beginning to end. I'm actually sick enough, I've actually read it. It is a really, the work that has been put forth in this township is really second to none. And Greenwich residents really should be proud of the folks who have really put forth their blood, sweat, and tears in keeping as Tanya says on the website, keeping the green in Greenwich. I mean, that's I'll quote Tanya on that, on her, and I think that, you know, that this process, which by the way, is not a short-term process, we have projects in place into 2013. We also, I think, are at a point as a local, you know, entity that we've gotten the state's attention, and they take Greenwich seriously when it comes to open space. And when we pick up the phone and we contact the state, they're not just like, yeah, whatever. They're having a dialogue with us, and they're providing funding because they know that we put our money where our mouth is. And we're really, you know, we're doing the work. The other thing is, right now, I think, in a depressed economy, where developers are not developing, landowners now are looking for an alternate way of cashing out, okay? This would be, in my opinion, the worst possible time. If there was ever a time not to abandon open space, this is the time not to do it. Because we are at a point right now where we can buy more for less. And, you know, I would just, those are just my thoughts off the top of my head, and listening to the proposal.
I have just a couple comments. I'm sorry, but for the last 10 years, I have worked side by side with the state, side by side with the county. My passion for open space is bar none. The tax that currently exists is 4 cents. I understand Brad's thought process, but you know, when you're dealing with the things that we've had to deal with, especially where the Highlands Council and the COA come together, and I've sat for years battling the state, battling the Highlands, wondering how we're going to, we have the perfect storm here in Greenwich where COA and the Highlands meet, where most townships don't have that.
What's going on?
We sat here for years going over the necessities of what would hurt and help this township, sued by developers, having a Mount Laurel, all of those things. And how did we get this under control? It was based on our open space initiatives that we put forth. It was based on creating the master plan. And it's not that Brad's proposal isn't a thoughtful one, and I don't mean to minimize that. I mean, if we for a moment consider this sort of opportunity as a way out of our fiscal problems we are experiencing right now, especially with not doing the things that we need to do to clean up what we've just been told by our auditor, shame on us, because this is going to give every future developer an opportunity to come back to this township and pave it over.
Did I misunderstand what Brad, maybe I misunderstood what he said. He had 2 proposals, and so I don't think he was suggesting that we not focus on open space or move money from open space. What he suggested was, he said, I have 2 proposals, and all of us received this. Both would require a voter referendum for approval and may not succeed. And like I said, I don't think I expressed my opinion one way or the other. I'm just presenting his thoughts. 1, temporarily reduce the open space tax to 0 and establish a capital account tax for the same levy, 4 cents. Create the referendum and word it so that it clearly stipulates that this will be reversed after 2 years so that it cannot be extended beyond the 2-year period. The open space effort will lose funding for 2 years amounting to about $480,000, but they currently have a significant balance. Use the $480,000 to pay back the sewer fund and replenish the emergency appropriation. The tax impact to the residents is 0, if approved. It simply moves the tax levy from open space to capital. 2, same approach as above, but instead of reducing open space to 0, reduce it to 2 cents and create a capital levy for 2. Write the referendum to reverse it in 4 years. It would generate about $120,000 per year for the capital account. This might be a better solution so that the open space can continue to be funded something and would allow for the town to build the funds to pay back the sewer and replenish the emergency appropriation. Again, the tax impact to the residents is 0, if approved as moves the levy from open space to capital. I think if presented the right way to residents, they might support it. Like I said, the open space effort is important, but we have to start thinking about the impact cuts in service will have on quality of life in our town. If they have a significant impact, we may need to start thinking of ways to close the budget gap. So I don't think he was necessarily saying that services would absolutely be cut, but I think what he was saying, and I think any of us would say, with a gap that we have, I think it's difficult not to impact services. So, you know, we have a resident that's saying, that's making a proposal. Like I said, I think he's a fairly intelligent individual, and I think it's worth exploring.
One
Well,
of the
for
things
the-
that are not included in that proposal is the programs that we have already in place through 2013, which the mayor has already discussed, which we have outlined in the many meetings that we've had. Number two, you're saying that services are possibly being cut or not being cut. That's
It's a hypothetical,
It's a
it may or may
hypothetical.
not be, but
This is the critical time when landowners, like the 100 acres, we got at a bargain sale. This is not the time for us to be playing with open space money.
Did you respond to Brad's email?
I said, thank you.
I did.
Oh, you said thank you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, thank
Oh,
you, but
okay.
I don't know about services being cut. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Where did you get that from? I asked him that question.
Can I ask a
Oh.
question of Dawn, being she's here? What,
Well, wait a minute,
We're
we're
not
gonna go,
open.
we'll go to public comment, I think, yeah, after, and maybe we could take public comment out of order before we get to Michael, because I do see a lot of folks that are here that probably want to comment on this issue, but why don't we finish first with that? I wanted to say to you, what is your feeling on this? You've indicated what the resident feels. Where do you stand on it? Do you support open space,
I
or do
think
you
it-
support this?
I definitely support open space. I definitely support open space. However, if there could be some sort of proposal where it would be a win-win for the residents, both in open space and closing the gap, that's what I would be supportive of. And I truly don't recall Brad coming before the committee before and mentioning it.
No, I mean, I
You know,
just,
I honestly don't, so.
I could just tell you this, for me personally, I feel very passionate for the program, and I will go on record as saying I would never support a motion to support a referendum to place that on the ballot, and I'm comfortable in saying that in public. I campaigned very hard. I rang every doorbell of every registered, in town, and I made it clear exactly what I stood for. I actually got involved in Greenwich politics based upon this exact issue. So for me, it would just be a betrayal of my passionate beliefs. So while I appreciate the issue, I could tell you unconditionally, there is nothing that could be said in a conversation that could ever change my mind about going on this, and that's just how I feel personally. So I will say now, whatever motion is brought, I will always and unconditionally vote no if it means any impact or change to the open space program.
Do we know, how much does it, there's a cost obviously to putting a question on the ballot. Do we know what that is?
No, couldn't tell you. I have to speak with them when they do the layout with the printer.
So we don't, is it hundreds, it's thousands? We have no idea?
Well, it's probably a couple $1,000.
Because I mean,
That's my ballot cost.
he was saying let the voters decide.
Well, the voters have decided, to be clear. They put this process in place, so the voters have actually spoken. This is a particular resident who is suggesting to do something that is different than what the residents have already voted on. So I think procedurally, it's almost like which came first, the chicken or the egg, but we do have a process in place that was not done by a motion here. It was done by putting it to the residents, and it passed. So I'm for continuing with that.
Can I ask a question? If you were to entertain this idea to use open space monies to offset a budget gap, that would be a temporary crutch. That would be like an extraordinary aid situation. You'd still have to make changes so that after the 2-year or 4-year period is up, you're still going to be left with that
That's
same
right.
gap unless you make a
Yes.
considerable change to your budget, either
Exactly.
increase your revenue in a different way or decrease your appropriations.
Correct.
So you'd still be left, that would be a temporary fix, and at the end of that 4 years, you're still gonna have.
Well, I think
what's
I
referred
think
to as
the
your
piece that he
budget.
was talking about the most was the $300,000 repay to the sewer, which would not be a recurring charge going forward. He was referring mostly to close that $300,000 repayment back to the sewer utility fund. And I don't think he was suggesting that we take it out of current funds. He was suggesting about going with, in the future.
But Lorraine, you do bring up a good point,
Yes.
and it was some of these short-term fixes, like passing emergency appropriations last year, which added and got us into this type of thing without actually recognizing and addressing why are we doing these things. You're right. We need to look at our appetite and to say we are consuming more than we're taking in. And that just seems to be a fundamental problem in the fabric of America today. We just spend more than we are entitled to spend.
Well-
And we need to just address that issue, and by going into these different directions, I think you're right, we're kicking the can down the road, and we're not taking a look at, you know, really what we should be spending.
Well, but I think that, what Brad is proposing, it's good to have the discussion on this, for a change, but without all of us at each other's throats, it's nice to see that. But I think what he's proposing is a way for us, as Elaine is always saying, how are we gonna pay back the $300,000, and we're all for open space. I think that goes without saying, that every one of us here is for open space. But it doesn't hurt to explore these ideas, to look at these ideas, because really, where are we gonna come up with $300,000? I can't see, to be honest, myself personally, I don't see how we're gonna come up with $300,000. And I know that we're working to make certain cuts and to fix the budget and everything else, but that's another issue. It's not part of the
We have to
$300,000.
figure out how our regular budget's gonna be done.
Okay.
That issue has got the hairs on my neck on it.
I
This whole,
understand.
this stuff, and what I would want to do is to see a deep dive into this budget, fix these problems, instill some austere measures during this time frame right now, get ourselves under control, and then entertain stuff like this.
The only
That's
thing
what I
I
thought.
want to make one more point. We cannot lose sight of one of the major reasons we have a budget gap is the litigation that is ongoing. So please don't lose sight of the litigation, okay? Let's not lose sight of why we have a current budget gap. That is the biggest piece of the current budget gap.
And again, it's just, it's just an idea that's being thrown out to us. And I don't think that it hurts for us to sit down and look at it, and look at everything else that goes with this, and see if there's a way that maybe this would work for us, Maybe, and my question that's gonna be to you, and you can answer when you come up here, is that, if we did something like that, and say you took 2 cents out of the 4 cents, how does that impact open space? How does that impact you? Because maybe it's not something we can do, because it's gonna be such a tremendous impact to open space. So,
No,
you
we need to define the budget gap. My recollection of the budget gap and the numbers that we thought when we were invited into this pre-budgetary meeting was what they portrayed us. It obviously is not what it was portrayed to us now. So the gap could be huger, it could be much bigger, or it could be less.
They didn't, that's not a
I'm just
budget gap,
saying,
but that was not a budget gap that they talked about tonight.
There's funds. Well, there's negatives and there's positives and non-recollections and things that.
That's not what I heard. That's not what I heard.
I heard we don't have a good picture, and you don't know what the bottom line is, correct? We don't know what the bottom, whether it's way in the black, way in the red, we don't even know what it is because it's so screwed up. So what
I don't agree.
I'd like to get it fixed and get a picture, a real good hard picture, and then make an educated decision based on that. I'm sure the town people think the same thing.
If there's no other comment from the members of the committee, if I can indulge, because I know, Michael, you're next, I see some folks here that I'm gonna label as interested in this issue. If we can take public comment, if you guys are okay with that, and make a motion to open up for public comment.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion, vote, roll call,
All in
please?
favor?
Aye. So with that, we'll now open up the meeting for a second public comment period. If anybody would like to address the committee, please come up to the podium, state your name, your residence.
Hey, Jim.
Jim Adams, 210 Alden Road, former committee person, and a couple of things. Brad was doing what was right, in my opinion, as a concerned resident, writing a letter, as I did back in the 90s. And I remember my letter because I actually read it a few months ago and laughed, because shortly after that I was writing a letter to the planning board. And they actually put me on the planning board to basically eat my words. And basically, you know, you sit in the cheap seats and it's a whole different thing. But you need to focus, as I'm sure you're all aware, on the budget aspects. And look to your financial person, Paul Lord, and take heed in what she's saying. You may have a temporary fix, but in 3 years or 4 years, you're going to be right back where you started. You need to fix the underlying issues first. And taking a hit on open space, you know, I'll let others speak to that, but that's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And for as long as I've been here, one of the lessons I learned, and you spoke to it, was the ratables chase. That's the primary reason why we're in such a good spot right now. Our tax rate, as compared to others, is, in my opinion, very good. And I believe it's because of our belief in open space. So that's all I wanted to say. All right.
Thank you.
Dawn Marie Connors, 1911 Gary Road. I'm the chair of the open space, and I'm also speaking on behalf of Doris Rayner, who is the chair of the Ag Board, who could not make it tonight. Her husband's having surgery tomorrow. Good idea. I mean, we're all trying to figure out what we're going to do with this budget hole. I'm not sure exactly how it is after listening to the auditor, but it sounds like something has to be kind of going through in order to figure out what that major issue is, or what that issue is. What I'd like to do, you have some facts correct and you have some facts not so incorrect. So what I'd like to do is just give you a short little education on the open space tax. The open space tax, okay, is there for several reasons. Okay, one is the very simple objective of preservation, of keeping the Greenwich, maintaining our agriculture, our heritage, and all the good things and aesthetic things that you come to Greenwich is. So that's a nice and soft and fuzzy one. And I can understand me as a resident and a taxpayer, it's like, okay, soft and fuzzy, paying your mortgage. You know what I mean? Those are real issues that we're grappling with right now. The other piece, though, is the economic piece. Okay, the open space money is not merely just to preserve and to have great vistas while it's a good benefit. It's actually an economic tool that we use in town, and just like the master plan is another tool, and there's other tools in town to keep our taxes down. Okay, what we have here basically is, if you look, I think what was quoted several times, it's a well-known study, it comes from Rutgers. I couldn't get my hands on it for tonight, but I will pass it along with you. It basically says what it costs the town to do what. Okay, if you have obviously residences, okay, housing or whatever, that's the most expensive taxes you could have, because obviously it comes with the school and school taxes, which is the bulk of your tax bill. If you have commercial, or what we call the ratables, that's the middle expenses, because then you have those services you talked about before, the fire, the road crew, the police, etc. And like the mayor was saying, farmland is basically no expenses except for the tax that we have there. When you have development, okay, coming through, right now we don't have a lot of development coming through because of the economic situation. So as the mayor was saying, we are getting prime key at-risk properties that we thought we would never get before, okay, in a very cheap way. Millseam was the big one. I mean, that had a target on our back for how long? Okay, we got that at a bargain sale. We have another developer, which for confidentiality reasons, I can't talk about it in public, and you all know it because we talked about executive session. Again, okay, if that development goes through, those taxes, our taxes go up. If those development does not go through and the man, wants to turn that to preservation, okay, our taxes don't go up. So that's money stored in there for a reason. There are other developers that have contacted us, okay, on prime properties, not farmers but developers, that are also looking to turn around their money. So I see this as the economy is not going to stay like this forever. Of course, we might not enjoy the days we had, 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but it is going to rebound. And those developers, if they don't have an option, and the option is either somehow getting their money out. The option could be preservation, the option could be solar farms, the option could be what have you. But if they don't have an option for preservation, that is going to increase our taxes. So in essence, taking away a portion or a piece of this open space is actually going to be increasing our taxes. Okay, it's not just a one-to-one swap from one bucket to another. It actually increases our taxes in a net up. From a farmer's perspective, we need to give them an out. They have, they're in the RCD zone. That's 20 acres. Okay, if they don't have developers knocking on it for 20 acres and they need to get their money out of the land, preservation is an option. Another option is solar. We already have a solar farm that was approved on 57 behind Sunshine. Okay, we had that big O'Dowd solar thing that got knocked down. We have another application on the Norman Smith property. Okay, right now before the Board of Adjustment. And we have yet another one coming up after that on the Beatty property. So that's, I won't say it's a threat, but that's a real issue, okay, that, not an issue, but an option that the farmers are basically looking at. If we take away preservation, right now that's going to be the only option. And we have ordinances placed from the master plan to conduct it in certain areas, but there's the, the legal law about inherently beneficial and inherently detrimental that has to be weighed in order for a solar farm to be, coming on board in these prime locations that we wanted to keep. So we really do want to keep options going. My other point is our funding. We are the poster child in New Jersey for smart development. Okay, we had rampant ones. When we started this open space, and we started with being serious about the master plan, and started with conservation, we became the poster child basically of how to do smart growth. And for that, we get amazing amounts of funding, okay, to match us. It's not free funding that we don't spend our own money. We have to match that. We also have gotten once, and now we're going to probably get it a second time, federal funding, which is almost unheard of, but we do get federal funding because of our efforts. If this goes away, the other point I'm going to make also is because some of our developments, from the developments, those kind of preservations, they're very complicated. So we do spend a lot on, Mike Fidelli's and, John Drill's expertise. But because they're complicated, the state is very much involved in trying to make it happen for us. Okay, whereas I've heard some other townships basically say, I don't want to deal with it, it's too complicated, we have this. They actually work with us to make it happen because they're rooting for us. If we give a signal to both the state, county, or even the federal government that we're drawing back, we give a signal to them that they don't want to basically let us keep our funding, okay, until we finish a transaction. Give us funding, help us with the service, help us with trying to bundle this and make this a workable preservation. And it's also, I feel, is going to be a signal to the developers when the economy starts to turn back and they start to want to, build or what have you. And it's also, I believe, going to be a signal to solar farms, wind farms, or whatever else is the new development that's going to come through. So I do want to just caution you that it's just not a one-to-one swap. There's a lot of implications underneath it all that helps us keep our tax base down. And to take a piece of it right now, I mean, our 4 cents was 4 cents for a reason, okay? Because it basically allows us to preserve 1 to 1.5 farms, okay? Because sometimes they go over a year per year. And Right now, you know, we have things in the hopper. We sent out our outreach at the end of last year, and we're getting signals from people that they want to start talking to us. So not everything, you know, becomes a preserved farm, but you got to do that talk and dance, and it takes a while. We have some farmers, you know, Mr. Oakley, he's not done yet. I mean, he owns half of this stuff over here, and he's going farm by farm by farm by farm. So I don't want to give him a signal that we're quitting on him as well, because you know what? That's the other piece of this preservation. It was also to keep economic viability in agricultural, okay? If they, you know, can't afford to keep it running, you know what I mean? And this easement or the selling of the development easement is a way for them to, you know, get money and put more money into the farms. I don't want to, you know, kind of ruin their economic viability as well and cause them to pay in order to do this. So I know it's a hard decision, and I know it's a complicated issue, but I just want to caution you, it's not just a one-to-one swap and everything is good. It's actually going to increase your taxes.
Are you able to share how much is in there, how much balance there is? Are we able to discuss that? Because that was Brad's question too, and I said I don't recall what it was. So how much we have in the open space fund?
I don't, I mean, because we haven't had a CFO, I haven't been getting the reports.
But the last report that you would have gotten before Grace left.
The last report I got, the open trust balance at the beginning of the year.
What's the date of it?
July, August.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically
You
said,
expected
okay.
some money? Okay.
No, I basically extrapolated that for the whole
Okay.
year, I guessed it. So I
Okay.
think it's around $600,000.
Uh-huh.
And that sounds like a lot, but basically we
Based
have.
on what we know we spent, it's not.
Right, based upon the closing of a couple of funds, which I can't say in public, we have 3 of them.
Right.
Okay, this year, okay, that balance basically goes away.
It goes away.
Yes.
And we've had co-funding between the county and the state with those.
Yes, we have
Yes.
county, state, and what
Right.
have you. So, I mean, I'll be more than happy to
And
share this
federal,
all.
yes.
I want to be
So
secretive,
you know,
but
you
I
might be
can't
the right
talk.
person to have a conversation with Brad.
Right. Thank you.
I can share all this with you if you want.
And thank you for your hard work.
And thank you for staying for 3 hours.
And that's why it's nice to have the experts around. Thank you.
Thank you, Don Marie.
Oh, yeah. You need her and Alpha. You need to clone her.
That's what I'm just thinking.
Barry Glassman, 502 Dory Place, former chair of the Environmental Commission, former member of the Planning Board, have worked with Dawn Marie on open space, and I was a resident who voted for the tax for the open space money. As a voter, as a citizen, I would not be in favor of moving that money over, whatever procedural way that would occur or could occur. I wouldn't be in favor of it. I also think it's great that we have residents that are thinking outside the box to try to help. It's great. But I would not want to see some of the things that are already mentioned, that the DNA of a lot of us in this community that are focused on open space. I would not want to see that money moved around that would only have to be replaced or would hurt us in the long run. So please, I hope you'll stay true to it and work hard to figure out how to close the budget gap, and if necessary, deal with it up front. Instead of a referendum on moving money around, just referendum on raising the tax if that's the only alternative. But there may be other alternatives to closing the budget gap, hopefully not raising taxes. But if it comes to that, just deal with the problem and close the budget the right way. Not kick it down the road, not play around, I don't mean negatively play around with money, but don't move money around. Just deal with the problem of the budget gap and not create other problems with other money. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Barry.
Well said.
I said it better myself.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 10:15, and I figure there's a lot of things we might want to say.
George Howell, 913 Maple Drive. Nothing to do with open space. I agree with everything you guys are doing. Okay. A couple quick questions. Authorization, back to item number 11. Authorization for ordinance regarding Dumont Road weight limit. Is it a little redundant? Are there weight limits implied in town already?
Not on that road.
On that road?
No.
Okay, because I know on 178, you can't make a right.
That's why we want
Heavy
to put
trucks.
those, we want to put those weight limits on there.
Right, and there's scales there in the road to notify the police that overweight trucks are there. They're not in use. They go up and down my street all the time, coming from a trucking company who works over there, repairing the trucks, taking a test drive around. It's a natural cut through anyway. They're not gonna go 25 miles an hour, we're gonna come up and down. I used to drive a truck, I used to run in out of quarries. It may be redundant to do because things are already in place for that anyway. And how are you gonna enforce it? Because you're gonna need the scales from the state to come out with the state trooper to hold the truck to do the scales. You don't? Because according to the troopers I've spoken to, they'll be requested all the time, there's only a couple in the state that do it. And they gotta be, right. That's why the weigh station's there, but that's not where the portable scales are. So I'm just wondering if this was thought about the plans. That's all, I just didn't know how far you went into thinking about it, because I know there's stuff in town now that isn't really enforced. But you want to add another one that may or may not be enforced because of the new situation coming in that people won't like. When there's other stuff that people don't like now, but nothing's being done about it. That's all. I want to know how far you thought about it.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm Tom Bolger, 506 Dory Place, Chairman of the Planning Board. A couple of things, especially about the asphalt, right? We're here to protect the town. We do not have any zoning which currently allows any new asphalt plants to be put in, right? When we see something happen, the same thing that happened over at Washington when they were gonna put in the warehouse, right? And everybody mobilized and they went to Franklin and they said, hey Franklin, we don't like this. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to protect the town. Right now on Route 173, Route 638, Greenwich, Route 637, Main Street, there are weight restricted ordinances. If they're not being enforced, please call the police. Let them know it's not being enforced because our police can write those tickets, okay? What we're trying to do is just put in another ordinance to take away that shortcut. What we're trying to do is make sure that the trucks use the roads that the roads were designed for. We don't want them cutting through town. We don't want them on Main Street. It's way too narrow. The people who live there now can tell you, people still go way too fast there. And to have a truck with the houses so close to the street, not what you want to do. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to force the traffic away from cutting through town to go through the edge of town. Route 22, Route 519, those are county roads designed to handle the heavy trucks. And that's what we're looking to do. So we were looking to take away the shortcuts. At the same time, we are petitioning the Township Committee, and they passed a motion today, to have our planning board attorney, was it something I said? I filled up too much of the frame.
People are going to be crying.
To express our concerns about protecting our community. We're going to talk about air quality, we're going to talk about groundwater discharge and what monitoring systems we have in there, because we're looking to protect our township. We're looking, development is going to happen. You can't stop it, no matter what the Township Committee wants to do. You can't stop it, but you can do it a smart way. And that's what our master plan, you've heard the Township Committee talk about the master plan. We spent hours upon hours. You think this is a long meeting? Come to one of the planning board working sessions. If you take a look, where's that?
What about Board of Adjustment?
Here you go.
Yeah. That is just for Highlands. That's Highlands' response. Right. And so with our master plan, one of our main goals is to keep Greenwich green, to keep the rural character of town. That's why, there are a lot of people here who grew up in town, right? There's a lot of us who didn't grow up here. Right. I didn't have to mow lawn as a kid. We had concrete. I don't like that. I wanted to come out here and I wanted to keep the rural character. And the best way to do that is, number one, smart development.
Well, absolutely. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying there's one even closer to our town. So we're arguing about something else in another town. We have no control over it.
Right.
We have control over traffic. Yes, we do. Guess what? It's going to be there anyway. This plant over here puts out trucks nonstop. And what's the distance? We got a town line in there. But this is.
I understand.
So we're talking about something that we have no control over, except for traffic.
Exactly.
So
I would rather do something to help protect the town than do nothing. And that's what we're all about. You can't change everything, you can't fix everything, but you can do certain things.
Correct, but the traffic is still there, whether on this road or that road. It's the same amount of traffic, the same amount of emissions, the same amount of greenhouse gases, the same amount of this. It's just a different road.
It is. It's a different road.
500 feet apart.
Let's just keep it to public
and
comment.
you don't have the traffic going through neighborhoods. And Dumont Road, although part of it is right by retail, a large part of Dumont Road goes straight through a neighborhood where we have a large cluster of houses. You don't want, and kids, and you don't want the truck traffic going through there. The other part has to do with keeping the rural character. A lot of the things that Barry said, absolutely true, right? All of it. All the things that Dawn had to say, absolutely true. If you take away that viability, that funding, if you send the wrong message to the county and to the state and to the farmers, it's going to work at cross purposes, okay? Nobody wants to talk about raising taxes. Sometimes you have to do it. The school found out the hard way that by keeping the taxes so far down, that when it came time when they needed to increase taxes, their base was so far down they couldn't increase it enough because there was a percentage. Had the taxes only been increased a little at a time, then maybe you have a slight increase, then you can have enough money so that you're not cutting services. And again, I know people are trying to get elected and nobody wants to be up here saying, you know, I'm for raising taxes. But in effect, that's what Brad's proposal is. It's saying, let's raise taxes. Because if you're going to take away the funding for open space, which I think is the wrong thing to do, he's in effect saying, and this is what Joe said before, and I totally agree, he's authorizing, that referendum would be authorizing raising municipal taxes. We would be cutting out money for open space and raising municipal taxes. So this is a tax increase referendum. Nobody wants to say that, but that's what it is. It may seem that it's an even cut, that it's 2 cents off of this and raise it by 2 cents or 4 cents and then raise it. But it's not, because then you have all the intangible things that Dawn has to say. You know, you want to try to put a dollar amount on the farmer saying, oh, they cut it to that. I better go talk to that solar guy, or I better go talk to that developer because I need to get my money out because now Greenwich isn't supporting it. And so now you have bigger problems. So, again, I think it's right to have those type of thoughts and think, but you got to talk through them, you got to think it through, and sometimes it's really not the right thing to do. Thanks.
Thank you.
I just have a
comment.
quick question. Angelo Falis, 720 Jackson.
You want to step up to
729
the
Jackson.
microphone just to make sure that
Oh.
I don't know what's recorded or what's not back there, Angela.
Just wonder if on that asphalt plant thing with the traffic, are you gonna have a problem with the trucks going into Home Depot on that road?
You're looking at me.
Yeah, when you figure this out, because
What do you mean,
don't
going
the trucks
into
have
Home
to go on DuPont to go into Home Depot?
There should be no reason that an asphalt truck has to go to Home Depot.
No, the other trucks though,
What other truck?
the trucks that normally go into Home Depot to deliver stuff.
I'm sorry.
You're talking about the weight
I get
limits?
you.
Yeah, the weight
mean
limits.
a regular truck that goes there today.
Yeah, right,
It's just
right,
for
right.
pickups and deliveries.
Right,
well, there's an exemption for local deliveries. That's what this
Oh, okay.
ordinance and Brent's wizardry will
okay.
have to work out.
Yeah. But, thank you for raising the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that is an interesting point.
Kevin Bain, 416 Daniel Drive. I did have the opportunity last night to talk with Brad about the email that he had sent you guys. And just to give you a little background, when we talked, he said he wasn't sure what the balance was. And he said if the balance was, $1.2 million, $1.5 million, he thought it could be a feasible idea possibly, depending on what was out there, if there was anything possibly in the burner that we would be purchasing. But given the information we've received tonight, I think you would agree with me that it doesn't seem like it's a viable solution right now because of the fact that there's only $600,000 and that there are some stuff that we're looking to potentially purchase now. So that was kind of what his thought process was. So I guess that's
a good thing to know, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear it up because he wasn't
Yeah,
here.
that's
Like,
a good- that's
I was
a
going to
good
tell him
thing
make sure
to
he
know.
watches the tape and everything, And he's,
Yeah, that's a good thing to know.
Turn to the tape and you can
Raise the tape.
You got that,
Yeah,
Brad?
no,
I'm sticking up
we
here.
know.
Ready for your close-up now? For your close-up.
Do we close up?
Yeah, there you go.
You got that, Brad? So I wanted to just, not that he needed any defending or anything like that, but I just wanted you to understand that's what he's trying to, come up with solutions, just like the rest of us are.
Yep,
so.
we do appreciate the suggestion.
We will help you come up with solutions.
And I'm sure he'll come up with some others.
And
One
he
thing
should
that Brad's good at is coming up with,
keep them coming.
thinking outside the box, so. One other thing I wanted to request was, that 3-page Robert's Rule of Motions there, if we can get a copy for the board, that would be an interesting reading, if you don't mind.
I have extra copies.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
That'd be great. And then, I guess one last thing that, I'm also for, keeping the green in Greenwich, but like most of us here, I'm also for keeping green in my wallet as well, so there's something that we did up to you guys to try and do that for us as well, so.
We're sensitive to that. Yeah.
Alrighty? Alright,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
Here you go, you can have this copy.
Any other public comment? Seeing no hands, is there a motion to close?
Make a motion?
Oh, are you coming up to speak?
No, we're good.
Okay.
No, he said it so well and sent a message to Brad.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, now that brings us to Mr. Finelli.
Okay.
Yeah, Wufa is right.
Well, and you know what, we didn't even get
Reminds me of
Mr.
the old
Carney
days,
yet.
Mike.
We still haven't got
This
Mr.
reminds me of
Carney.
the old days, Mike, huh?
It is like the old days a little bit. Okay. There's only a couple items to discuss.
No, we used to start him at like 10:30 at night.
But I used to talk a lot longer back then.
I know.
So, I've been trained well, so I'm ready now. Okay, I emailed the report out a number of days ago. All the items updates. Kim, I'm gonna need a copy of that resolution that was adopted tonight, number 32. If you would be so kind, and it's, original, certified, the whole schmagegi, please, so I can send that down. Okay.
As you walk out of here without it.
Okay, yeah, most of the items are real quick, and this isn't even in my report because this came up after my report went out. Item number 14, Mars Canal topsoil, which we talked about years ago. In fact, I talked to Dan about it before he was even on the committee because it was a chance of us having the ability to acquire a lot of topsoil from this Mars Canal restoration project, which is being done by the county. I got a call coincidentally, Tuesday or yesterday, from the county, that they are going to be moving forward with the project in the summer. So that issue will be coming up again.
What part of the project are they moving forward with in the summer?
The Mars Canal restoration project.
What part of the project, in Greenwich?
In Lopatcong and in Greenwich, yes.
Is this topsoil free?
Yes.
So why did I just see invoices to purchase topsoil for January? We should not be paying for topsoil, right?
That's
recreation. But we can't use this? Is it different? It's like, so it's like the
Infield
infield topsoil?
Yes.
Oh, that's
The
different. I got
infield
you.
mix is very different.
Yeah, I
This-
understand that it's there. I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. All right.
Okay. This is primo stuff.
But
when it comes to
it's different. I
topsoil. But it's not gonna be
understand.
screened, it's just gonna be stockpiled. And again, it just happened the other day, I'll be providing you with some additional updates in the next couple of months as I hear more. And timelines and where we're gonna put it, et cetera, et cetera.
Hey, my quick point, I had a resident make a complaint with regards to the activity going on the Morris Canal by his house. I don't know if you can, at least while the work is commencing and working, that they respect the property lines. Or riding over his lawn,
It's
leaving
more to
rubbish
it
and
than
things
just
like
that.
that.
There's a whole
They're
host of things.
leaving rubbish and
Well,
things in their
that's
grass
another
around.
project, you're.
Yeah, I don't know who I'm talking about, okay.
It's an environmental project, and they're supposed to be, they're not supposed to be doing anything in Greenwich until we've talked about it.
And they've been
At
doing it.
great length, these homeowners don't want any activity behind their homes.
Yeah.
Okay, this is two different things.
I agree.
I
Okay.
mean,
I'm gonna come
and
off.
that's a complaint that should be registered with the County of Warren.
I
That
did
is very
register
different
that
than what
complaint.
I'm
Okay,
saying.
all right.
This is a project that hasn't even gone out to bid yet,
Right.
that won't be awarded until the summertime, and construction won't start to the summertime, what I'm talking about.
But you said that they're
Who
doing,
runs those guys?
I do, what did,
you said that they're doing the project in Greenwich in the summer, and I
Yeah,
went to the one meeting in December because we didn't know about the other meetings in July and September. I went to the December meeting and told them, the Greenwich residents in Stewart's Hunt band together several years ago, and they backed down from doing any work behind the homes of the residents in Stewart's Hunt.
I don't think this is the Stewart's Hunt
So this
portion of
is
the
on
canal.
Wyndham Farm.
This is
This
the
is
one,
down
this is a
by the
window
Lee
farm and down by the
Down
Lee
by the Lee
property.
property?
Right.
This is down, yeah, by 519.
The complaints I
and
got
Strikers
directly-
Yeah,
and-
but I want to know what they're doing, because
Word.
they're going to extend that all the way out to Phillipsburg is their plan. I want to know
Well,
what they're
it is their
doing
plan.
to take care of the residents in Stewart's Hunt.
Okay. Before I say anything, because I don't know, I've got to talk to, he's gone. I got to talk to Hicks about our own little thing, which is a whole separate on Greenwich project.
All right.
About Joe Mexi with the Opticon system, and now this will be item 3.
Okay,
So we'll
Dave
kill
Deck.
3 proverbial birds.
I'll
with
call
one stone.
Dave Deck
I'll
tomorrow.
get plans, and I'm curious now myself, okay.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
That wasn't even in my report.
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
I just heard the construction over there, and the call, and I went over there to see what was going on, it's pretty bad.
Oh, I don't even know what's going on.
They're leaving garbage on people's
Oh,
lawns
well, no,
and
that's
mowing over
the
their
point.
bushes
That
and
should
things
not
like
be,
that, yeah,
no,
so.
that's not, they
I'm
should
taking
be.
photographs of their property line, yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, Morris Canal. I'm trying to think, I missed that though, that went up here. I heard what you said, okay.
Somebody said Highlands.
I know, yeah, somebody said Highlands.
Don't walk out of here until you say Dumont Road.
Route, what is that?
I don't want to walk out of here until you say Dumont Road Street.
No, I'm not, I skipped over already. I'm just saying, that's
The light's been
your
installed.
baby. I thought so.
Has it really?
Did they plug in the
I'm gonna go
the
drive
main
out and
outlet?
take a picture
Was
of that.
that,
tonight, just
was
to
that
see it.
after
The new light was installed. I spoke with Pat Dottie. The state building inspector is going out to do the inspection. He says he couldn't find it. He didn't know which one it was.
Well,
I said,
it's-
the new one.
That's a good thing, they do it right. Well, maybe they all
And you
were.
could tell that's not all beat up. But they were gonna do the inspection, they're gonna issue the cut-in card to JCP&L, so that they're gonna go up and hit the power. And we'll see what happens, then I go, hello? I don't know, but
If I was a betting man, I would bet the under on 50% of those lights working.
If it's every other one, we'll keep it that way.
It won't be. It'll be 2, then it'll be 3 out, okay. But that's good news, okay. How about that? Okay, Ravine Road, report speaks for itself. Bottom line is, do you remember last month, Chief Guzzo raised the issue of Ravine Road
Yeah.
being abandoned? I
Not
found
the
it
case.
very peculiar, that's not the case. However, Ravine Road is closed, and
Yes.
I don't know when it's gonna be opened again. Nor does Powhatan Township, because there's funding shortfall, so
Yep.
It's closing their end, right?
it's closed on their end. So it's not a through road right now, and anybody, and it's not a good situation.
how are the people who are down there getting out?
I don't know, but they're going another way, because they're not going home Ravine Road. I mean, Ravine Road is gone. It's destroyed. She sent me, Gwen Steckel, the POHAT engineer, sent me photos. Should have probably sent them to you. It's unbelievable. I mean, the road is gone, gone, gone. It is rock and gone. It's bad. Okay, moving right along. The Warren Glen Gas Company project, again, the report speaks for itself. You asked a couple questions last month, primarily about the coordination with the farmer, Mr. Santini, and the timeline for the project. Okay. I ended up talking to Bob myself. He was not aware of it. I hooked up the gas company with him. They met, they talked. Everything's good. He's well aware of these kinds of projects. He's gone through them already in the past. See this again. This is actually the copies of the grant application.
Okay.
Your copies,
Okay.
just for your records.
Thank you.
And the project is to actually commence sometime in this late spring, early summer, but they don't know where it's going to start yet. It could start in Franklin, it could start in POHAT, they could theoretically start in the middle. But the Santini issue and then Green Acres and D'Angelo, that's resolved. Kim, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I need a copy of that letter that
I
Joe
have it for
signed
you. About
on
the gas
the
thing?
yeah, the gas letter. So if
Yeah.
you could just make a note at some point.
Yeah, I have it. I actually was gonna give it to you the other night
Oh.
at the planning board meeting.
And that's it for tonight. No action items, just a few updates.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, I don't think you were, I don't know if you were working on this or not, but the lights in Greenwich Chase that were down, that we had complaints on, Kim, you were doing like a,
Well, I had instructed John Howell to go out and do an inventory
okay.
of all the lights, and then to let him know which ones were, you know, the poll numbers and everything.
Okay.
That's not an HOA issue because it's been dedicated back to the town.
Yeah, it's not HOA, no. So I know, all right.
So
we're just waiting for
John
like
to
JCP
see.
and Al?
No, he was supposed to have done an inventory to see which ones. I told him to run through the whole development
Okay.
to make sure. I don't remember if he got back to me or went directly, you know, with him as to which ones were.
I mean,
out.
Angela, you're usually, are they still down, like you, they are, okay.
In 6 months
'Cause I
now.
think there were some concerns that they were
8
a little bit
months.
dangerous the way they
Yeah.
were almost down, but not really.
8 months. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Anything else?
So who's gonna reach
Yeah.
out to John Howell?
Well, John's already done his work, right?
I'm not
Reach out to
100%
you,
sure. I
Mike?
mean, I can check with
Did he
him.
talk to you?
Okay.
I think he did like I